Yo, what's up, people? Welcome to the channel. My name is Clint, and I specialize in producing music for TV and film, and I also teach other producers how to monetize their music by showing them how to produce, prepare, and pitch placement-ready music for TV. So make sure you subscribe, stick around. We're back for another episode of the Music Is My Business podcast after literally like a lot of weeks off. I'm back. It's been a few weeks, but excited to be back, man. Hope all is well. Let me see what we have in the chat. Let me know where you guys are from. Let me know what you do. Super excited about today's episode. So yeah, let's shout out a few people in the chat. Let me see. We got Rob Hamlet in the building. What's good? A Train said it's the live over. I know I came on a few minutes late, but it's all good. We was making sure everything was straight. Bango Beats, what's good? Alexander, what's up? My first live. Let's go. Welcome to the live. Flares is in the building. Michael Connor, what's good, bro? We got M London Music, Hero for Hire Media from New York by way of Baltimore. I love it. So listen, we have a guest, right? And listen, if you have any excuses at the start of this episode, you won't have any more, because he's about to shatter any possible excuse you could ever have as to why you can't become successful in whatever you want to do, but specifically sync licensing and producing music for TV and film. So some of his work has been heard on PBS. It was a film called LA, or I think it's LA or LA Rebellion Cinematic Movement, Critical Role, Disney, including the Trolls, the TV series, which I think he worked on for like 5 years or something like that, and a bunch of other animation. Like he obviously does animation super well because he's worked on it for years and years and years. So I want to welcome my guy Karam Salem to the Music Is My Business podcast. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
Good. Thank you so much for having me here. Super excited. We finally get to do this after I don't know how long.
I know, right?
I'm very happy to be here. Yes, and as you said, I'm gonna shut down all the excuses. I'll try as much as possible. Honestly, I feel if I was able to do this for a living, I think it's possible for everybody. I will share my thoughts on how to and all of that and what worked out for me. But at the end, you need to make it your own story in a way.
Yeah, facts. So, man, we had a chance to talk a while back, and you were just kind of going into like your story, man, and just how you kind of got into music, how you ended up in the States, and I was just like, yo, okay. So let's start from the beginning. Like, where are you from?
Sure, great question. So I'm originally from Baghdad, Iraq.
Okay.
I was born and raised there for the first 18 years of my life.
Okay.
So during these first 18 years, if you know a little bit of history, I survived 3 wars. And I was born in a war, and I left the country when it was in war.
Wow.
But, throughout that first 18 years of my life, I think all I wanted to do is being a pianist and play piano as much as I can. It was very, very difficult even at that time, because the whole country, I mean, maybe had 2, 3, maybe 4 good teachers.
Wow.
Who taught piano very, very well. And these teachers were kind of like the holy grail of their realm, because they are the ones who, maybe they were born in the 1960s, where the country was in a shape that used to send students outside of their borders to study in France, Germany, Russia, all that stuff. So when they came back and, politics got into the situation, the borders were closed. So people in my generation, I'm comfortable to say I was born in 1988.
Mm.
Uh, so people in my generation, you know, were born in a situation where we are not allowed to travel. There was no internet, no any sort of communications to have access to anything that is outside of where we were born, basically.
Okay.
The the TV was controlled by the government. I think we had only two channels. Yes,
Wow.
only two channels.
Two
Uh,
channels.
only two channels, and then later on we got lucky and we had three. you know but but in terms of like me growing up, cartoon wise, I think we had just 1 hour a day where the national channels like broadcasted cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
um, but for some reason I was always into e- playing piano, with being born in a family that my dad used to play guitar and lute instrument. My
Mm-hmm.
uncles were like all musicians, so I grew up around them. uh, and they had a little band that was going on at that time. But
Mm-hmm.
again, everything is very limited to whatever was possible at that time that we had access to.
Right.
um, so years went by, and I just kept playing piano by ear, I believe, up until age 12 years old, until when we were able to get to one of the teachers that were there,
Mm.
so I can get trained properly, I can play piano, and I can do all of that.
Yeah.
And once I got access to one of the teachers in Baghdad, I believe a year after that, there was one of the famous pianists came to the country. I think it was like through the United Nations program or something like that, because this is like never happened, in Iraq. Her
Okay.
name was Marie Joseph Joud. She was from France and she came to Iraq. She did like some sort of competition, uh, and hoping to get one of these, you know, best performers with her back to France and teach them how, and the idea of like after he's done learning, we'll come back and hopefully we'll teach whoever is wanting to learn.
Right.
uh, Within 1 year of just being trained, I was able to get a third place in that competition.
Wow.
uh, and we were, the whole country maybe had, I don't know, maybe 14 or 15 participants, maybe a
Mm.
little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
So at that age, I was 12 years old. I wrote in my diary, I wrote that one day, I know at that time was like insanely impossible, like there is no way, because we were not allowed to travel. There was no country in the world want us to be there. you know so it's like, that's the the reality that I was
Mm-hmm.
born into.
Yeah.
But that kind of didn't stop me. I said, like, at age 12, I wrote, I was like, I want to travel outside of Iraq. I want to learn how to play piano. I
Mm-hmm.
want to travel the world after that. And I just left it there. And I never stopped practicing piano. This was my life.
Yeah.
Uh, but in 2006, my dad was like, we need to get out of this country. It is not safe anymore. This is
Mm-hmm.
when the war started in 2003.
Okay.
We stayed in Baghdad for 3 years after that. But in 2006 was the most difficult year. And the at that time, Syria was accepting refugees
Okay.
to come from Iraq. So my dad was like, we need to get out of here for our safety, and we'll figure out when we go there. So
Mm-hmm.
we moved in 2006. I was 18 years old at that time,
Okay.
to Syria. And there we didn't have papers, we didn't have anything, so education was not even possible to continue my high school and all of that. But all I
Mm-hmm.
did was like playing piano. And there I was able to be in some sort of piano schools just to continue my training. And 2 years into it, I was lucky to meet people in Syria who were helping Iraqi students who left their country and couldn't finish their education
Mm-hmm.
in Iraq, and they were trying to bring them here to the United States with full scholarships to, start kind of their life.
Wow.
Uh, and I was 18 years old. In the Middle East, 18 years old, parents don't send their kids to to like America to study. It's just like not normal.
Okay. Okay. Got
So,
you.
and especially the program at that time was called the Iraqi Student Project.
Okay.
Um, and uh, and I didn't speak English at that time too,
Really?
and never.
Wow.
Because, like in Iraq,
What?
we had English classes and stuff like that, but
Okay.
it was the last thing on my list that I should pay attention to, because there was no reason for me to learn a language that I will never ever
And
use.
you,
And that,
if you couldn't go leave the country,
right, right. If I can't leave the country, why would I learn anything? Like, why would I learn the language if there's no use for it,
yeah,
for me
makes
in
sense.
my life?
Yeah.
Uh, but then this couple from New York who were in Syria, uh, their name is Gabe and Teresa. Teresa came to me and she told me, if you're gonna learn English, it's gonna open so many doors in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a lot of potential in you, but you have to learn the language. So, I heard her very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And the next 8 months, I was eating, sleeping, dreaming, everything in English. you know,
Wow.
everything I did I was practicing piano for like 6, 7, 8 hours, and I was like practicing English for 6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah, wow. And listen, English is not easy. Like, we have multiple words for the same thing. We have the same words that mean different things. It's
Yes.
confusing even to people who speak English sometimes.
And a lot of things you say, but like you write it, but you don't pronounce it. All of that stuff. So I
Yeah.
just had to go through it. I just like saw that this is the like a moment that could change my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I believed in it. And I was one of the first 14 students who came through that program to the United States,
Wow.
and and uh, we were kind of spread out throughout the states. Depends on what everybody wanted to study and focus in their life,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's how I came here to the United States. That was like last month for me was my 15 years
Wow.
in the United States. So I'm very close to live as much as I lived back in Iraq in the
Yeah.
United States. And this is home now. I have family.
Mm.
I'm married. I have two boys. Uh,
Congrats.
thank you. That's the short version of
Yeah.
it.
Nah, man. I mean, that's inspiring and amazing. Cause the crazy thing, man, is we're super close in age. Like, we're like a year apart, and it's crazy because I was on this side seeing everything go down with the war and all that stuff, and then
Right,
you're
right,
like on the exact opposite side,
right,
experiencing things from a completely different perspective. And now we
right.
still we still like we're in neighboring states now, so it's like we
Yeah,
end
that's
up
crazy,
in
right?
in the same field, and it's crazy to think about, man. But wow. So you said your dad was kind of involved in music. Is that where you kind of picked it up from and just kind of never strayed
Yeah,
away
I,
from
I, I think so. Yeah, I started playing keyboard at age 5,
it? Okay.
and I started by ear. I started to play at the choir in our church back home.
Hmm.
So I used to basically learn the melodies, and I played on in my right hand only.
Okay.
And
Okay.
my dad used to accompany me with his guitars.
Mm.
And then later on, as I improved and I was conducting the choir, so like things kind of moved out. But like the reason why I'm very passionate about this subject, because it's not just about passion, but like also music in a way saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for music, I I don't think I would be part of that program, you
Hmm.
know, uh, to come here. And because of the music, the university here accepted me with my poor English at that time, because I didn't need to be, I didn't want to be a scientist or like an engineer, and I need very strong English to come and study here, right? And then when I came here, all I wanted to do, even at that time, all I wanted to do is to practice and perform. And throughout the 4 years of my college here, I went to Indiana Holy Cross College.
Okay.
Um, I performed throughout many universities, many halls, also in New York, to raise money for other Iraqi students who wanted to be part of this program as well.
Wow.
But then soon enough, I think it was my second or third year, I realized I came to a country where there is a lot of pianists here. you know, Back
Yeah.
home, it was just me and a few other guys, and that was it. And we were very, having a blast. But here, I just quickly realized how there is a lot of people here who plays piano, who were born here much earlier, had much earlier training than me, and then reality started to kick. How can I make music work for me,
Hmm.
uh, and find my own way? So I feel like in my second and third year, I was still performing a lot, but I started to compose my own pieces, and I started to perform them through my concerts here. And I think
Nice.
that opened the door for composing music.
Yeah.
And that led to me discovering there is film and music TV. Up
Hmm.
until that point, I had no idea that this is a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and that journey, once I discovered that path, I wanted to do. I wanted to go and figure out how should I go about it. So at that time, I changed my major from music to visual arts and graphic design. So I have a visual art background. I still paint. I love that. When I get out of this room and I just want to get some inspiration, I just go hold a canvas and paint. I have few
Nice.
canvases downstairs. I call them unfinished paintings. Every time I get a minute, I go and try to work on them a little bit. Um,
Nice.
so that was like a nice layer to me, but I never realized music and visual arts will align together in a way that will be my path to write music for film and TV.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was in my after I finished my undergrad. That's where my journey started. Then at that time I was in Indiana, and I wanted to figure out where I should go, where I need to be, how should I position myself. And
Hmm.
I did a lot of research. And at that time, for people who wants to score movies and films and documentaries, there was only one place to be at, which is Los Angeles.
Yep.
I don't think that was a surprise, but I realized for students who are going to either Berklee School of Music or Columbia in New York, which they have like film scoring program, or even Chicago, they have a film scoring program. I realized that by time they finish, they end up going to Los Angeles to live part of their life there, to figure out the industry.
Yeah.
So for me, I needed to find a way. How can I get there? And then uh, I moved around a little bit, and I worked different jobs, but I always wanted to do music. I work different jobs that are, the goal is to get closer to someone that will tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
And the last thing I did before the push towards like doing this full time, I worked at Caesar Palace in Las Vegas
Okay.
for 2 years. And my objective of that was I wanted to perform with Circus du Soleil shows in Las Vegas. There is a lot of them, and these shows have like live musicians at that time. But I wanted to start anywhere, anyhow, to get to connect with the people and move forward.
Nice.
And then by a chance, my uncle at that time in Las Vegas knew the music director who was in charge of the O show in Bellagio, I believe.
Okay.
And I set up a meeting with him. I sent him. There was a CDs at that time, so,
Old school.
so I gave him my CD and I told him this is the music I do. And the day after that, he emailed me and he told me my music needs to be on film and TV, and you need to make this happen. You need to go to Los Angeles and make it work there. So it took me about 1 year from that meeting to me moving to Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we moved to Los Angeles in January 2015. At that time, I was married, just me and my wife. We were like, let's go to Los Angeles, spend 1 year, gamble everything we have to make this thing happen. And if it didn't work out, we'll find another way. We said we're not gonna stop, but we're just gonna find another way.
Yeah.
So in the first year, we arrived to Los Angeles.
And by this time, you knew about sync. You knew about the possibility of getting your music placed in TV and film.
Yes,
did you know exactly how to go about it by the time you got to LA, or were you just still kind of figuring it out based off what
I was still figuring it out. Yeah, I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody in LA.
Okay.
There was only one person I know, and his name is Alex Limay. At that time, he's a film director, and I'm working on a documentary film with him.
Okay.
Like right now. But at that time, he was the one who told me it's going to take you 10 years to work on such studio projects like that. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it in 3 years. I was like, I'm not going to wait 10 years. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I had this conversation with him, and we still talk about that day. So what I did in my first year, and here's what I mean by going all in. I did my research and I know where I need to be and where I need to go. And at that, what I decided is I wanted to do the UCLA film scoring program. It's a 1-year program, very intense.
Okay.
And I decided during that program, I'm going to do every single possible internship I can put my hands on. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to do the program. The program is full-time. The internships are full-time.
Okay.
None of it is paid. I actually have to pay for it, for my education. But this is what we did. We came to LA for 1 year to like just put everything we have, and then will hopefully something happen. And yeah, so like I started to do like short films, student films, and stuff like that while I was doing a lot of internships. I did internships with few amazing composers, big studios, Remote Control, Hans Zimmer Studio. It's a huge campus. And if you're there, you get to meet a lot of people who have their own studios, in there. So I did the generic, internship there, and then I got to know the people inside. So I was able, after I finished that internship, I moved with another composer. His name is Heitor Pereira. And as I was about to finish my internship there and finishing my program at UCLA, I got an email from an amazing mentor and friend now, but his name is Alex Goringas. And he said, "My name is Alex. I'm starting a new show with DreamWorks called Home. And I got your name from two places, and I want to meet with you."
Wow.
And I was like, "Okay, let's meet up." I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
who Alex was. I also at that time didn't know one of the recommendation that he received my name
Okay.
from. But Remote Control Production at that time forwarded my resume to DreamWorks, and DreamWorks forwarded my resume to Alex Goringas, who was doing a show at that time with DreamWorks.
Mm.
And they asked him that he needs somebody as an assistant because there is going to be a lot of work for him to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I met with Alex, and that was about 6 to 7 years ago now.
Okay.
So I started with him as an assistant for the first 2 years, and then I became collaborators, and we started to score shows together
Mm-hmm.
until until this year in February is when I started to do my own work without being under kind of his umbrella in a way.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was a gut feeling. I felt it. I had enough work. And I also built a lot of, catalog in terms of like music, shows, royalties, which is
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I don't think this would be possible without that. So
Yeah.
that kind of gave me the confidence to move forward and run my own chapter in a way.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing.
That's dope. Like, so what was it like being an assistant? Were you working on music, or were you doing like just like admin tasks? Like, what was that
Yeah,
experience like?
yeah, exactly. So when I first started, I was doing assistant work, and assistant work means uh, being at the spotting sessions, taking notes, organizing, printing stems, uh, receiving putting like the episode in a music preview, send it to the studio so they can watch it,
Mm-hmm.
send us send us notes. I organize all the notes based on the cues names we have,
Okay.
send it to Alex. All that kind of work. He
So you're
was
getting
so
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
not to. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it sounds like you got like a really good feel of just the overall process and everything that's involved with composing music to picture,
what
doing
what
that.
100%. I mean, doing internships was amazing. It opened your eyes on how to organize your work, how to
Mm-hmm.
like start a project, how to organize your folders, how to protect everything you do, all that kind of stuff. But until when you work, that's when you have your own rhythm, your own system. It gets to a point where like it doesn't matter what the project is, it goes throughout the same process.
Yep.
And this is something, sorry, I was able also to establish with Alex. We built an insane system where like there is no mistakes will happen. There
Mm-hmm.
is no nothing will go wrong. you know there is no cue gonna go be missing, or
Mm-hmm.
like we delivered the wrong version, because like all files are titled very specific. There is no way to go wrong about it. and
Yeah.
and and, and that made us very efficient. And at some point, Alex and I, we were doing 3 shows together at the same time, very demanding.
Yeah.
uh, uh, but then you get faster at your work, and you get to score a whole episode in 2 days instead of 20 days, like
Wow.
uh, and that helped me so much, to especially like working on trolls with him, because trolls are like little villages, and each
Mm.
village has its own genre.
Yeah.
So quickly I had to adapt that it doesn't take that many tracks to make a specific genre, but if you know the right instrument and the right sound and the right balance of
Hmm.
these instrument, then it's gonna be that genre. So like we literally jump from action sequence orchestral to like techno music to country to like pop music to like all within no time. you know
Yeah.
and then doing that on a professional level, uh because this was like a show for DreamWorks, and then it's going to, so it was like kind of like I'm practicing, but also it's a professional setting,
Yeah.
where no mistakes needs to happen and all of that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was really, really grateful for the years, I worked with Alex. And also he is the kind of person who not just wants you to be an assistant from day one, he wants you to succeed on your own.
Mm.
Uh,
That's
and
dope.
that kind of cultivated something in me, why I like to, share the knowledge. There is nothing needs to be hidden,
Yep.
and I think that also comes from a confidence that I'm not going to be personally affected if I teach you exactly how I do it or I
Yep.
show you my template. There is nothing secret,
Yep.
because you are so different than me. Even if we write the same scene, it will never feel the same or be the same, and
Exactly.
that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it interesting, and also uh, I'm okay to like not hold back on any information.
Yeah. Love it.
So that I think, like, just to summarize that journey, the reason why I started saying that anybody can do it, but anybody can do it with with work ethic that is so consistent. Like, if you want to make music, you have to make music every day
Yeah.
for something or for nothing. Like I
Yeah.
have tracks and tracks that got nowhere, but I learned so much from them every single day. The reason why where I am today is because there was like no non-stop, like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day I'm writing music. If
Hmm.
that's what I want to do, that's what it takes. And
Yeah.
I'm also like right now mentoring few composers who are very early on in their stages. But like, I think if there is anything I want to share, and I hope this will stick, somewhere, is like, especially if you're starting on today,
Hmm.
I feel like it is not impossible to make it work. But in order to make it work, you need to find 7 ways to make income from music. If music is your goal, if your goal is to make music and that's your call in life, because it gotta be a call. This is not for anybody.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Facts.
it's not for everybody. It has to be a call, and it has to be, you have to feel it in your own, body.
Yeah.
And as your career goes on, you're gonna realize that the 7 ways you picked, there is only 4 that are kind of, you are being more successful at than the other 3. So
Hmm.
now what you need to do is forget about these 3 and focus on these 4. And as you keep carrying on with your career, then these 4 are gonna be 3, gonna be 2, and then you should stay in that range, because uh, and it will reveal itself to you that this is the career you picked, and these are the things that you are into now, that you found success in, and just stick to it and get better at it every day.
Yeah. I love
uh,
that. Yeah, man. I agree. Just staying focused, man, and just not, some people they don't start putting in the work until, you know, they feel like they have an opportunity. They're like, oh, well, when the opportunity comes, then I'll start working on music every day, or I'll start, studying and learning different things, or practice scoring the
Yeah,
pitcher. You know what I mean? But I think the work starts immediately, so that, when preparation meets opportunity, then you
right,
get success.
right, right,
Let's
100%.
talk about Trolls, because you put in a lot of years on that show, on that series. Like, so were
Right.
you scoring to picture, or were you like producing music and then they're placing the music? What how were you working on that?
Yeah, uh, Trolls is a show that was composed by Alex Guringas, and at
Okay.
that time I was part of his team.
Mm.
And it was just me and him writing for that show.
Okay.
Because it was you know, I don't know how many like maybe 250 episodes we did or something like that. So like
Mm-hmm.
every 7 to 10 days we had to score a new episode.
Okay.
By time we start scoring a new episode, we're also doing a revision for the previous episode.
Mm.
So that show was it's an animated TV series. Part of it is on Netflix and the other part is on Hulu.
Okay.
And we receive a locked picture of the animation. And our first step to do is doing a spotting session.
Okay.
Spotting session is basically we all sit in the same room with the executive of the show and the music coordinator of the show and also the music team. And we just watch the entire episode and we talk about when to start the music and when to end the music and what kind of music we are doing in this segment.
Okay.
And we do that. These episodes were like 20 minutes an episode. So we watch the entire 20 minutes, and by the end of that spotting session we have a lot of notes for the entire episode, and then Alex and I, we just go about who's gonna do what, and then we start scoring right away.
Okay.
And then we put everything together in a music preview, a quick time clip, 20 minutes, and send it to the production and then to the executives, and then they watch it. They give us notes based on specific time codes, like maybe here there is no music now, can we extend the music before it or start the music that comes later earlier, and all that kind of revision notes. Sometimes the cues says like, I didn't feel it's working here, can we change the genre, can we change the instrumentation, it needs bigger, smaller, that kind of revision notes.
Mm. Nice.
And we keep working until the finish line where we need to get the final approvals, and then we print stems for every single cue. Every cue is like a piece of music. It depends on the length, right? So we print stems for each cue, and then we put it in Pro Tools session and ship it to the dub stage. And the
Okay.
dub stage take it from there, mixing it to the dialogue, mix the music to the dialogue and to the sound effects, and from there it goes to the streaming services. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Man.
that's kind of the process. But you know what? Like here's a funny story because you're talking about animation. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was at UCLA, uh, there was a class is about for scoring to animation,
Okay.
right? Uh, and that was the only class I didn't take in my film scoring
The
program.
one
And
class you didn't
the
take
one class I didn't take, and the first gig I get was
is
all in
animation.
animation. And you know
Wow.
what? Like I was like, why I'm not gonna pay the money for that class because I'm very drama, driven, dark sound,
Mm-hmm.
style like it just runs in my story. It runs in my blood. I can't do animation music. I don't know what animation music.
Yeah.
And so I avoided that class. I avoided it all the time. Like, I took
Wow.
film scoring, all that stuff. But animation, it never resonated it with me. I was like, I'm not an animation composer.
Mm-hmm.
And then who knows, like the next 6 years of my life is all is all spent in animation.
Wow.
I worked on Trolls, and that was like with Home, which is the first show I started with Alex. I that
Okay.
when I was doing like more assistant work, but towards the end of the show I started to write additional music.
Hmm.
And then when Trolls, the show, came in to Alex, we both worked on it together.
Okay.
And then because of that trust and relationship, then we were able to. I scored Chuggington season 6. This is for Disney Junior. Also, we did a lot a Woody Woodpecker reboot. It's on YouTube
Okay.
animation. So we did a lot of that animation world. And it definitely opened my eyes to a lot of different genres, different production, different mixing, because we do all of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, I hope I answered your question.
No, yeah, that
Yeah,
that's amazing and ironic too. So okay, with I'm curious. So with composing, entire seasons, multiple seasons of
right.
like an animated series like that, like how does payment work? Like, is it you do the whole season and then you get like or the head composer gets like a lump sum and then royalties, or are they like kind of giving you, because I assume it takes a while to put all this music together, especially for an entire season, so or is it like in
Yeah,
increments they kind of give you something just to be able to to
right,
live while you work on it?
right. So contract wise, when you get a show like that, and
Hmm.
let's say the show we were getting, they are like 52 episodes,
Okay.
right? But 52 episodes are uh, doubled. Each episode is 10 minutes, but the way they stream it, they attach it to another episode,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
So it is not 50, it's 52 episodes of 20 minutes, but it's actually 104 episodes,
I see.
right?
Wow. Okay.
Because there's like like there's a story in the big there's like a story for the first 10 minutes, and then there is
Hmm.
like a card that comes with the next episode title, and
Hmm.
that will be the second story, but they are attached together, two different stories. So the job is, if you get a 52 episodes, it's 104 episodes, but the way we score them two at a time.
Okay.
So contract wise is basically you get paid per episode,
Okay.
and you get paid after the episode is delivered. The studio always keeps 100% of the publishing,
Hmm.
because they have to have that, because if when a show like that is on Netflix, it's automatically playing in 35 different countries.
Hmm.
So they don't want to come to us every time, hey, here is paperwork, hey,
For
here's
each
paperwork, hey,
territory.
for each territory. So
Yeah.
it's a very common practice that the studio keeps the publishing
Okay.
rights, and then the composer always keep the writer's share.
Okay.
So the deal is usually is like an upfront payment per episode after you deliver it, and then you keep the writer's share, which is 100% of
Gotcha.
every cue you write. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And like an episode of like 20 minutes in animation,
Hmm.
we used to, by the time the episode is approved and all of that, it's about around 40 to 50 cues, because there are some of them are 1 minute less, but some of them are short too.
Yeah.
But we need to split them up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. If you guys have any questions, shout out to everybody in the stream. Definitely drop a few in the chat. We have a few more minutes to try and get some
Yeah.
questions in.
Thank you for
Um,
listening, too.
yeah, nah, man, amazing story. Like I said, man, when we talked, I was like, bro, like we need to have more and dig deeper into this conversation because,
Thank you.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
because
I
it's just
just
amazing.
feel, like I feel it's a beautiful thing that if your passion is music, you can make it work. And I feel like I'm blessed, truly blessed every day. I
Hmm.
wake up in the morning, I come here and make music for straight 8 hours, and I'm happy, I'm, I'm not like, but also, I don't want to sound like, oh, it's so like magical and,
Right.
beautiful, it's work, at the end of the day is work.
Yep.
uh, but it's a work that I'm passionate about, so I don't mind to be in this specific room for 14 hours.
Right.
Sometimes you have to. um, and that is the thing. It just takes a huge commitment.
Yep.
And the really secret, it's not even secret, the recipe for success is just don't give up after 4 and 5 years.
Don't stop. You can't put
Don't
a
stop.
time limit on it.
You cannot put a time limit on it, because all people who started it in 3 4 years, 5 years is the most crucial time, because you already put 5 years in it and you don't see any return,
Yep.
uh, is just like a long term. Because if we're talking about, you know writing for reality shows, which I do all the time,
Hmm.
uh, you know the time that we're looking at, if you submitted a queue and that queue got placed right away,
Hmm.
by time it get aired from the time you submitted it, nobody knows how long that is. It could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be 4 months, it could be 6 months. But from time it airs, you need to count another 9 months then to see some sort of return. That's why it's a long term uh, investment in a way,
Yep.
and it works because there are examples that are telling you it works, and the recipe of it is just you have to keep going and don't stop, and
Yep.
and get better every day. And I know in your heart you know what good music sounds, because you listen to music all the time, and try
Yep.
to beat that, and it will get easier, before, as an assignment when I was at UCLA 8 years ago, we have a whole week to score 1 minute, you know,
Wow. Yeah.
and now we have, you know, you have to do the whole show in 1 minute,
Yep.
because, especially if you're doing like 2 3 shows at the same time, which we were lucky at some point we were able to do that. But if
Hmm.
you don't have that, it's like practice. You practice, every day you practice,
Yep.
so you don't wonder where to go. You just grab the right tools and you're ready at
Yep.
any moment. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man. I remember you mentioned you mentioned working on like multiple episodes, and we already know what revisions can look like sometimes, and then creating a whole nother episode while going back and doing the revisions. Because I think I worked
yeah,
on the longest like series I worked on was Born This Way on A&E. And
oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
was, I mean, that was pretty much the project I was focused on for that,
yeah,
for those seasons. But
yeah.
um, I mean, it definitely takes that dedication. Like a lot of people would just back out. They're like, "Yo, I'm not doing these revisions, and I got to create new music, and I got to, you know what I mean?" But it's like, do
Yeah.
you want to do this for the rest of your
Right.
life? You know?
Right, because when you are 3 shows deep, and these like when I'm talking about 52, let's say, episodes, which,
Hmm.
from the day you sign the contract is going to be this is a whole year and some change nonstop,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but that's part of like when, if you're organized, if you know the process, you know what to do, like
Yep.
all of that, because like at some point it will fail, you're making more revisions than scoring, you know and that is okay. I always get astonished by, I read some comments, on social media. Oh, my director sent me revision notes for the second time, should I have limit him to, like, no, that is the job, is to do revisions
Yep.
a lot more than scoring the show, and I always like approach it, and in any project, I was like, I will make revisions until both of our ears are happy,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go with that mentality because you want them to come back to you, when they are doing another documentary in 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now.
Right.
They don't want to be like, oh, it was very difficult.
Yep.
My objective is I always want to be the smoothest part of the entire production, and
Yep.
music usually is the last thing where there is no money. There is, sometimes they cannot go and reshoot,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need to make the joke sounds funny, you need to make the script sound stronger because they cannot go shoot the scene again or shoot the entire story, so now the music is doing all the heavy lifting, right?
Yep.
And that is part of it. You have to you 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 have to be doing it happily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like? So when you got the first chance to score to picture, I guess you had the spotting session, which helps a lot. But
Right, right.
was there ever an instance where because you look at picture with no music and you're just like, there's
All the
nothing
time.
here. Like, what do I? What am I
All the
supposed to
time.
put here?
All the time. Yeah, because sometimes the editors who work on the show are the ones who send us the locked picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they do put something called temp music.
Mm-hmm.
And temp music is something that the editor feels like it is right, you know, tempo wise. Also the, the majority of it is just to help the editor to cut, to some sort of beat, tempo, stuff like that.
Okay.
But also a lot of times when there is no music and we had to just like sit down and figure it out, like what it will work. And like during spotting sessions, something I do, and I also learned that from Alex. We always have like I have a keyboard right here, right now. So
Mm-hmm.
as we are spotting the session, there is like a piano patch or strings or something like that. If we don't know what we are doing and what we
Mm-hmm.
need for that specific, because sometimes we don't know. Like, should
Mm-hmm.
we leave it without music? Should we put music? What kind of music? When does it start? When does it end? So we don't step on the dialogue and all of that, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we have to sketch something really quick as we are spotting,
Mm-hmm.
and then everybody's like, oh yeah, this is the right vibe, and then we write this in our notes, right? But yeah, it's a very you'll be very surprised if you watch an animation with dialogue only. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, it's like
You need
very
that
dry.
music. Yeah.
It's like,
Music
I
makes it, man.
it does, it makes the joke stronger, it makes you focus on one thing, it makes you intense, like, because if a cartoon character just falling down, is it could be just comic, it could be funny.
Yeah.
But if the music is very orchestral tense and there is like, strings are sliding down and, percussion very heavy, then you're worried if this is gonna injure, or like, are they gonna make it or not?
Yeah.
But also could be very, funny moment. So the music plays a huge, huge part of telling the story. And
Yeah.
sometimes the composers think one way and we send a pass when we are not sure of something,
Mm-hmm.
during the spotting session, and we say, oh, let's just try this for now and see how it fits with everything else. If it
Yeah.
works, it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and that's when we go and do a lot of revisions.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
job. Man,
yeah.
that's awesome, man. We're gonna have to have you back, man. I don't want to hold you too long, but this was
Anytime.
amazing conversation, man. Where can people follow you, learn more about you, so
Sure.
they can
I've
stay
been,
locked in?
yeah, I'm available on Instagram, and my name is Karam Salem Music. If you just type that, you should be able to find me. Also, I have a website, karamsalem.com. I try to avoid YouTube for now.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, if anybody, anything, just tell me you heard the podcast here and you have a question. I'm always happy to help, and I promise I will never hide anything. I will tell you the truth as it is and exactly what you need to know.
Indeed.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No doubt, man. Appreciate you coming through. Shout out to everybody in the stream. You guys stick around because after this, we're gonna listen to people's music, man. But Karam,
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
appreciate you, man, and looking forward to hearing dope music from you and possibly working on
Anytime,
some stuff in the
anytime.
future too, man. Because I
Thank you,
love your
thank you, thank
music.
you. Oh, me too, me too. It's been really, really amazing. Also knowing you, which
Thank you.
is that by itself is, thanks to Instagram and social media. It's a really, really cool way to meet people. Otherwise, I
Yep.
wouldn't know how we would be
Yep.
connected. Yeah, I love everything you do and all the encouragements. It's just keep doing it. And I just want to end saying like everything is possible if you want it to be possible.
Facts. Love it.
Um, that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank
we'll
you. Thank you for your time too.
indeed, man. Thank you. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Karam, take it easy, bro.
Peace.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.